Welcome to the podcast, where we teach you how to create marketing that pops. Get ready for refreshing conversations with industry experts, trendsetters, and creative minds that'll leave you bubbling with inspiration. Get ready to turn up the volume on your business. Let's get poppin'. Welcome back to Marketing That Pops. I'm your host, Olivia, and today Michelle is out, but we're not alone. I'm here with our senior designer, Cassie.
Hey.
Thanks for being on the pod today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them a little about yourself?
I'm a senior designer here, obviously. I went and graduated from Michigan State University with communication and marketing degree. I've been designing for over 15 years, been here and there, done a little bit of everything. But yeah, I really love agency work and working at Flat Pop.
Perfect. I love it. We've been talking about getting more of our team members on the pod, so I'm really excited to have Cassie in here with us today. And today we're going to be talking about design. Shocker. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about design trends that we're seeing in 2024. Now that the year is starting to settle in a little bit, we've been seeing a lot of cool things, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, lots of things coming ahead.
But before we do that, every episode, Cassie, which I'm sure you know because, she works here, she listens to the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Every episode, we do a myth that we like to debunk. So we're talking about design. Today, I want to ask you, can anyone do design? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a great question, because I think as an artist, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I love what you do. I can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like any sort of skill. The more that you work it, the better it is. Obviously, some people are born with more natural talents and such, but it's a muscle. I mean, if you really want to do design, you can do design. I always thought I couldn't do art because I'm not really good at like life drawing and such. So when I went through fine art schooling, I was sort of like, oh my gosh, can I actually do this? And then as I started to learn more about graphic design, design theory, color theory, I was just absolutely enamored with it. So I'd say if you have the passion for design, you can do design, absolutely. And with all the tools and resources out there, YouTube, and I mean, even if you can't afford higher end programs like the Adobe Suite, Canva, GIMP, there are so many options out there for...
Yeah. I mean, and as a designer, like you said, there's all these other platforms that are kind of popping up, and honestly, they're really on the rise. Like even Canva, like a couple of years ago, like it was so limited on the things that you can do, and now it's like, it's kind of crazy, to be honest with you.
They're kind of rivaling Adobe at times.
I mean, like, what do you think? Like, what's your thoughts on like Canva? Like, do you welcome it, or like, or as a designer, are you like,
hot topic as a designer?
Get out of here!
Don't take away my card.
Yeah,
I definitely think Canva is a good tool. Now, should you be designing everything in Canva? Absolutely not. Should you be designing everything in Photoshop? Absolutely not. All of your programs should be utilized how they should be. You need Photoshop to edit photos and manipulate things. You need Illustrator to work in vectors and sort of large format items. You need InDesign for layouts, booklets, etc. And Canva is like, I will say, probably its strongest suit is social media design and presentations. I think it's so accessible. It's so user-friendly. They have free options. So even if like your business or wherever you're at on your learning scale aren't ready to pay for anything, there are options available. Like you can make good design from anything. It doesn't really come from the program.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic, do you feel like there's any like tips or tricks that you've used that maybe they could use if they're just starting to get into like design and like Canva and things? Because there's a few that I've seen that I have liked, and I'm always seeing things on like social. People are like, oh, you could do this cool like I don't even know, like photo overlay, or do this like cool thing with like fonts.
I don't know if I have anything super specific. I'll say one of the like cheat sheets, or like I felt like I got cheat codes for graphic design.
Yeah.
When I learned this specifically is grid systems in design theory. If you learn grid systems, you can make anything look good on any platform. When things are on a grid naturally to the eye, everything kind of flows naturally. Your hierarchy comes through clearer.
Yep.
This is something that I think all designers have to know. And that is my biggest tip. Like you will be better than every other designer the minute you understand grid systems.
Okay, guys, you heard it here first. Get to understanding the grid theory. And that's that. Okay, cool. Well, I feel like you answered that. You debunked. So good job.
Debunked.
So I would like to talk also about just like what we've seen last year, and then we can start talking about what we've seen this year. So last year I feel like there was like a rise of maximalism design
Yes.
and also like more 3D lettering, I'd say. What do you feel like that you saw a lot of in 2023?
Yes, you're correct. Maximalism, any sort of highly produced product was really like popping off last year. 3D was just breaking onto the scene. You're going to see that happen again this year too, because it was just nibbling at the cuspids. It does seem that we're starting to move away from maximalism. You're seeing it come out in different aspects of the design, but it's sort of turning it on its head. And just like I feel like we do this every year, whatever we did the year previous, the next year is an answer to that. So it's like almost like a direct opposite, or where we're starting to see minimalism start to make a rise again.
I feel like I also saw a lot of like organic shapes and things like that in 2023.
I think there's more of that to come this year. We're seeing a lot of smoothing. The smoothing tools are getting better and better in these design programs, and it's allowing designers to do more with the shapes that are available to them and get really creative. What we are going to see issues with is as this rise with smoothing tools comes along, web developers are having a hard time creating those without them actually being image based. So the like smoothing is not quite there technology wise on some of the more basic third party web builders.
Yeah.
So expect to see more of that.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. Do you feel like there was any brands or that really embodied like some of these trends from 2023 at all that you can think of?
2023.
Because I was just trying to think, like, was there any brands that really stuck out to me with like the maximalism designs, or even like some of those like organic shapes?
Definitely the organic shapes. I would say MailChimp sort of led the head on that. These sort of like these hand-drawn, organic shaped drawings, illustrations, whatever you want to call them, became really, really popular in 2023. I even seen Google adopt them and quite a few other of the big major brands.
Yeah.
I have seen them move us sort of away from that now. I'm starting to see that disappear, and I think that's just a result of oversaturation. Yeah. Somebody saw it, we all loved it, then we all wanted to do it.
Yeah, we're like, I want to. So, okay, well, that was 2023. That's old news. That's old news. That's old. Let's talk about 2024. So what are you seeing for 2024? What's coming?
So, I mean, gradients. Are they in? Are they out? This year, they are in.
Yeah. Again. I can't believe it.
Another year back. But specifically, their gradients grown up. We're looking more at color transitions, mesh gradients, abstract gradients. You can kind of see this in Adobe's campaigns this year. They're using a lot of that, which is perfect for their branding. They're all sorts of different multimedia programs and such, so it makes sense for them to be represented by mesh gradient.
How do you feel this is going to really impact like our work? Like, do you see us being able to implement any of these designs like with our clients?
I think that depends on the client to client basis, who our demographic is, what target audience are we trying to hit, you know, am I going after Gen Z, Gen Y, the boomers? It all depends on what that needs to be. Also, is this a campaign that will be running 5 years?
Right.
3 months? It all depends on that. So I think there's an answer to all of that. I could see all of these trends implemented with some of our clients, but it all depends on what are we campaigning for, who our demographic is.
I love it. Spoken like a true marketer, a true designer. It's like you've done this before, you know?
Once or twice.
Once or twice.
Textures are so big this year. We love the minimalism. We're going back to minimalism, but we don't want to lose all of our zhuzh, I'll say. So adding textures to a flat design is really adding some depth to it. I haven't seen anything out there with some sort of background overlay, multiply. People are really playing with those appearance tabs. And I'm here for it, honestly. And not just textures on backgrounds and such anymore, but we're seeing it on typography, fuzzy letters.
Yes, I was just gonna say that kind of like static.
It's coming back full front. So not only are they doing the bubble letters, but they're adding texture to these bubble letters now in the 3D. I'm here for it.
I love the texture. I feel like it just adds so much to the design. And I'd say even like a couple of years ago, everything was a little bit flat. Just adding that little bit of static or whatever you want to call it
Mhm.
to the background is
Adds another level of dimension to the design.
And what's funny is I've actually seen that trend. I mean, it's not just in design. Like I've seen that with like a lot of the Gen Z, like they like to see like the blurry pictures and they don't want everything so crisp and clean cut. Like they like that.
They like that organic feel, like it was taken on a Polaroid.
Yes.
Because they didn't grow up with that sort of thing. So this is what I was talking about, how like you see one trend that results in another trend. It's like we grow up with this very clean cut, everything is web designed, everything's on a computer, so it's perfectly gridded. And so they like that organic hand touch, which kind of leads me into perfectly this like next thing, grids and geometry that you're seeing out there right now. It's like we are seeing typography on a grid, we're seeing shapes on a grid and such, but we're also seeing the like lines left over. They like seeing the pencil marks. They like seeing the grid system behind it still. Like,
that's so funny that you brought that up, because you were talking about like, you know, Google, and it just made me think of like some of the headers that I've been seeing lately. And they have been like using a lot of that, leaving that like kind of like graph paper aspect in the designs. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know if it was just like a one-off thing or if it was necessarily a trend, but
it's kind of like showing your work in math, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you can kind of see the like artist's rendition of it. A little bit.
People love to see it behind the scenes.
Exactly. And this is sort of influenced too, that you've seen this vintage minimalism sort of come up, where you're seeing like wood print cuts, serif fonts, things that feel older, but they're very thoughtfully placed. There isn't any more information than what there needs to be, which is of course minimalism. It's exactly what it needs to be and nothing more, which is interesting because we had such a maximalism 2023 that it was just like, it felt like it was going to continue into this year. And then everybody was like, you know what? Time to clear it. The millennials must have stepped up and they were like, I need my gray back.
Right,
like,
seriously. Give me my millennial gray paint, please.
I need my clear cabinet counters. No, I definitely see a trend going back towards older designs, 60s and 70s. I was going to say, I'll let that lead right into this, is that we're seeing the 70s chic come out this year. So very, very hot for trending.
I feel like it was like starting to come out a little bit last year with like that groovy font a little bit. So
they like organic. We like this sort of, it feels handwritten, or not, maybe not even handwritten, nostalgic. Yes, we're so used to seeing everything in Futura and Lovelo and all these other sharp sans serifs that are very avant-garde, which is great and all when we want that, but we're very much moving more towards an organic feel. We see Burger King like really leaning into this, and it's funny because they have like really 70s roots, and so they've used that sort of branding before, and their branding is actually based off of that originally with their colors and all that stuff. It's the same kind of 70s chic palette, and they're really leaning into that this year. So definitely check out what they're doing. Like,
I'm gonna have to look them up and see what they got going on.
As a result of all of this, like you're seeing that 70s chic, which feels more organic. They're more neutral colors, earthy colors, things that you would naturally see in nature. But then you also have this anti-design coming out this year too, this trending. And you're seeing this, like, I see it being called brutalism or industrial design. It's all kind of the same thing. It's knowing the design rules and then turning them on their head, doing overlaid text, cut off text that you maybe can't read all the way, but you can
I do love that.
Yes.
I do love that.
And that is an art to make it look so broken but still legible. So that is a big trend this year. The Red Wings have actually adopted this year for their campaign. For 2024 and part of the 2023 season, where you're seeing them use mixed fonts. So they're using serif and sans serif in the same wording. And then they're using a handwritten font. So everything looks hand-drawn, like it was written on like a little scoreboard or something like that. It's really interesting. I love the Red Wings as it is. And so it was really cool to see them really be at the head of the trends this year.
It's so interesting. I mean, obviously we see this from like big brands, and like when we're able to see what those, I guess, trends come to fruition. But like I was saying, like you can see it in so many different areas. Like even when you think about like just like artist album art, like they, for instance, like Ariana Grande just came out with her new album, and she's using a lot of the like handwritten fonts, and Like that,
We're trying to have it a more personal touch,
yes.
a handmade touch,
Yes.
because things aren't handmade anymore. And so I think we are craving that.
Like that human kind of like
human interaction, real human touch.
Yes. That's just really interesting to me that you can just see it in so many different aspects.
And I haven't seen a whole lot of it happening out there yet, other than in news articles, but AI is on the rise out there. And so keep your eyes out for that for sure. We're seeing it again in articles, social media posts. It's funny to see other graphic designers posting, being like, look at this ridiculous AI photo that this news article posted with, or, it's so clearly AI. But how do you use AI in your design without just typing in a prompt and using the exact prompt it's giving you, you know? How can you utilize that? That's like almost a topic for an entire.
That sure is. We'll have to
have to stay tuned.
We'll have to have Cassie back on before we talk about that. I do want to touch on it just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that in just a second. I guess I want to say is, as you found all of these designs and trends and things that you see that are happening and coming up, how would you encourage designers to kind of stay ahead of the curve and also like incorporate these? Or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say how to stay on the up and up. Have multiple sources. Don't be just looking on Instagram, Pinterest. Look at everything. Follow all media formats and stuff. Follow some of your favorite graphic designers. If you're not sure out there, go just search the graphic designer hashtag on Instagram, and I'm sure you'll find somebody who's like your style that you want to follow. Flattery at its highest form is imitation. And so seeing something that you love and going, how can I apply that to my campaign? Or how can I do this? I love what they're doing, but how does that work for my demographic, my audience, and my client? And so that's honestly like probably another good tip is a lot of times whatever I'm working on is inspired by something that I saw maybe years ago, or I'm like, wow, dang, that was really executed, but maybe I can execute it better, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, because one thing inspires another thing, inspires another thing. And honestly, that's how we get these these trends and these new things that come up. So I would say just try it out, try to incorporate it into your design. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But if it does, ooh. So out of all of these designs, which one of these is your favorite that you're seeing that you want to try to incorporate, or that?
I would say I love anti-design. I always have. I think every designer loves anti-design because here's all these rules they taught you. These are the absolute Bible of what graphic design should be. And it's like knowing those rules and being able to break them and go, well, I am going to overlay this text so it's harder to read. And there's ways that you can take that to your advantage too. So maybe now the headline is a little bit harder to read. Now you know that your audience needs to sit there and actually read it. So you don't want it on a billboard like that, do you? Because they see it for 5 seconds and drive right past. But a poster that is going to be in an exhibit that people are going to be in the exhibit and looking at, absolutely. This is a good time to incorporate that sort of design if that's what you're going for and if that's what aligns with your client's brand voice.
It's like you knew that I was talking about brand voice last week, Cassie.
It's so important.
AI, we got to talk about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hot topic.
How do you feel about AI and incorporating its rise in the future, I guess I should say, for designers? Does it make you nervous?
No.
Do you like it? Do you welcome it?
I welcome it. You have to be a designer, you have to roll with the trends. You have to roll with the new upcoming technology. And let's be real, AI is not going anywhere. We need to learn how to incorporate it into our business and all structures. For designers, I'm hoping in the future it'll help with like layout inspiration. We were talking about where do you pull your inspiration from? It sounds like AI, and the more I'm learning about it, that you can use that as prompts in order to get to an idea that you're maybe like grasping at, or I've definitely been inspired by some of the results it's given me before where I'm like, oh, you know what? I love the way that looks. I can kind of photo manipulate something to look similar and get exactly what I want. I would say use it as a tool in times where I can't find a specific stock image and my client doesn't have something, a specific like popsicle or something like that. If I'm trying to emulate a flavor or such, that I'm able to go, oh, give me a purple popsicle dripping on a stick, and definitely learn how to do the prompts properly. There are such things as lazy prompts and really in-depth prompts, and you can get too in-depth or like too specific. So really kind of research and get out there and find some resources to how to get the right prompts that you need to create your designs.
That sounds like a good blog topic that maybe I should write.
That would be a great blog topic.
Okay.
I'd read it.
I'll get on it. I love that answer. So what do you feel is most important? Do you feel like timeless design or following the modern trends?
Ooh, this is such a good question. So I'll start by saying that neither is right, neither is wrong, but it depends on what you're designing it for. So for instance, say I'm creating a brand new brand. This brand, let's say Nike. Let's say when they're creating Nike's brand, you want something that is going to look good now, and you don't want to pay for another logo. You don't want to change up your brand because then who are you to people?
Right.
You know? And so your brand should be timeless. Logos should always be timeless in some way, shape, or form. So really think about timeless design for campaigns that are lasting a very long time or things that are going to be representing the company forever.
Right.
I would say more trendy designs are way more effective and essential when you're doing shorter campaigns, yearly campaigns, etc. I mean, you even see this like at the Super Bowl level of like, they're looking up keywords that are trending. Oh, babies are hot. Monkeys are hot. We need a baby monkey in our Doritos commercial.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's sort of that funny thing. So I would definitely say there's a place and time for both of those. Don't ever let anybody tell you, oh, you always have to do timeless design. And yes, we'd love our designs to hold up to the test of time, but let's be honest, like it's all based on trends, opinions, and your demographic.
And even, I mean, we always are talking about some of the big players that have been around forever. Like, even if you think about like McDonald's and Apple, like they've had their logos and, you know, the conception of it, but they've had different iterations.
Correct.
And, you know,
the Golden Arches is timeless. No matter how many times they reinvent their logo, they're still going to have the Golden Arches.
Yes. And same goes for like Apple with the Apple. I mean, it had some lines in it, or maybe they changed the bite out of it just a touch, you know, but it's not.
It's still an Apple. It's still recognizable. It is timeless. If I showed it to anybody in different languages, they could probably still recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I love it. Is there a brand that you feel like you love, like their design at all? Like you're like, oh, I just love what they've got going on.
Oh man.
This is just personal questions. I just want to know.
There's so many. I know I already said the Red Wings, but I am just in love with the Red Wings branding this year. I'm so proud of them. Like, I don't know. A lot of times if you're a fan of something and you see bad design over and over again, you're just like, yuck. And then to see them actually do something and somebody put in some effort, you're like, oh, I don't know who's behind the scenes, but great job.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, for sure. Awesome. Well, Cassie, I appreciate you being on the podcast today. And we're going to have you back because obviously we need to get into the nitty gritty of the AI.
Yeah. I can't wait to be back.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for listening with us today. Stay tuned for the latest in web marketing and design from ThrivePop. Want to be a pop star? Head over to thrivepop.com/podcast to join our mailing list for episode notifications, sneak peeks, listener feedback, and more.